legal issues aside just for a second, can you tell me how has the probe and oximeter business been in India over the last, well, since you terminated Mumbai?
Well, our view is that Mumbai has actually really sabotaged the sales strategy that we had for India. That it was, it's not just that the sales have not been zooming, but that there's been active misconduct.
So there is a legal issue there.
Yeah, and that has obviously affected, it has had an impact on the kinds of sales we're experiencing.
Right, I mean, what they've done is they stocked up, basically, knowing that they were going to get cut off for not having enough sales. Where they could make sales, they made sales. And now we can't go in there and sell our product to anybody because they're all stocked up.
Let me ask, I know that when you terminated their contract, or maybe not too long after that, when you terminated Mumbai's contract, you did offer them the opportunity to be a non-exclusive.
Yeah.
But I understand that hasn't happened because of whatever, that hasn't happened.
They turned around and...
If we could undo the unpleasantness, assume they didn't sue you, okay? And you offered them a non-exclusive and they said, we're not happy, but okay. Would they be able to make sales here, to continue to make sales the way they were before?
The way they were before, I guess. The fundamental problem is that they weren't making the types of sales we were expecting.
I have another business question for you. How have you set up your business in other countries? In other words, is it typical? I know here you started with an exclusive, you've moved to non-exclusive, or wanted to move to non-exclusive. How have you done it? How have you done the arrangements in other countries?
Usually we've done it non-exclusive. That's the best way to do it.
How does it work? What do you have to do when you're going to a country that way?
Okay, there are a number of things that we have to accomplish. We have to make sure that people are getting trained on how to use this. So we may go to medical schools. We may have somebody go in and give demonstrations how the product works, sales pitches essentially on the product. But there are sales pitches that are aimed at reassuring them about the safety of the product so that we get approval to have the product used by hospitals. And then obviously it transitions into, once we get the approvals, into sales. Can we get people to buy the product?
Right.
At that stage, you really have to have either the non-exclusive people or our company putting in some energy, some money, some legwork. And if it's decentralized, it's a lot harder. You got to do all these fractured sort of pitches.
So, depending on how centralized or decentralized, either way, it's a labor-intensive process. You have to, if it's a different country, you have to send people over there. You have to house them. You have to get people over there. You have to do the trainings before they purchase, then after they purchase. The reason I ask actually is Mumbai says that they spent, because it wasn't a non-exclusive, that this was their job to do.
Yes.
They spent somewhere on the order of $500,000 doing that work. I don't know if they've covered all of India yet, but does that sound, using that as a measure, does that sound outlandish to you?
No, that they could have spent $500,000. Yes.
Okay.
But they are in profit mode now. Just to be clear,
Right.
their sales to date, with the slow growth that we're so troubled by, has already put them into profit.
Above the,
Yes.
they've
my
expended.
They should have gotten a lot more. If they put in $500,000, they should have gotten a lot more out of it than they've gotten. But yes, I can believe they put in $500,000.
Okay, all right. One way to think about money that you would pay to Mumbai is not as, I'm settling a legal claim, I did something wrong, that's is to say, well, you could think of it as, because they were an exclusive, it was in their interest to be the ones that spent the $500,000 because they were going to reap all the upside later. Now we're going back and saying, well, it's going to be a non-exclusive, and if you'd done that from the beginning, you would have had to bear that $500,000 expense.
Are you suggesting that we pay them $500,000?
No.
Okay, good.
I don't think that's going to be necessary.
Oh, okay.
But here's what I am suggesting, just a way to think about it, is that if you did, or less than that, whatever amount you pay that's less than that, you could think of it as, a reimbursement. You would have had to pay it.
Right.
Someone's got to pay it. You could think of it as a reimbursement for having to put in that upfront investment, because now the folks who are the non-exclusive distributors after that benefit.
I understand what you're saying. I appreciate, that we could recast it as kind of a research development front end
Yeah, that's what I'm
cost.
thinking.
But the bottom line is it's way too big a number.